It's time for Gun and Saddle, a United Country M. Edwards Realty and Auction weekly broadcast where we talk about anything and everything related to our God-fearing country lifestyles and the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to make them possible. Join Monty Edwards and Carrie Hanlon as they take a deeper look at the land we all love and the people that call it home. This is Gun and Saddle.
There we go. And we're not starting over. So, Rusty, welcome to your first episode of Gun and Saddle. You're here with me, Monty Edwards, and Carrie Hanlon. We're glad to have you here today.
Glad to be here. How are y'all doing today?
Oh, we're doing good. Doing good. Got back in this week. One of the things I was hoping we could talk about today is United Country had their national convention last week, and Rusty and I were able to go. Carrie was going to be down there next year. We've been actually over there, and I guess it's going to be in Kansas City next year. But she's chasing a senior this year, so she had a lot going on at home. We have had a little distance between the last time we've had a Gun and Saddle podcast, but it's been this. One of the things that I like about this is a good time for us to introduce you guys to new agents that have come on board with our team. Rusty has been with us since back in the last quarter of 2023. And that is right, isn't it, Rusty? Isn't that when you came back in? Was it like at the end of 2023? And
sounds right to me.
We're going to roll with that. Time flies when you're having fun. But
right.
But yeah. Rusty comes to the deal. I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself, but we're really excited. Rusty's hit the ground running with us, and he's doing lots of different stuff. One of the things that's really cool, too, with us being a realty and auction office is that Rusty comes to us also being an auctioneer. So I'm going to give him a chance to introduce himself, tell you all a little bit about himself, and then we'll go on and talk a little bit about some other stuff.
Yeah, Rusty Durham. Grew up north of Lubbock, New Deal, Abernathy area. We raised some commercial cows, cow-calf operation, ran some wheat steers as well. And but we also did some registered shorthorn cattle, and me and my brothers, we showed cattle all over the country. We even went up to East Lansing, Michigan one year. That was quite a drive. But yeah, I did that, and went to college at Clarendon College for ranch and feedlot operations. I thought I was just going to jump in the cattle business and just be there for my whole life, but things changed, and ended up going to the railroad. Worked there for 12 years till about 2017. And I've always wanted to become an auctioneer. It's always been in the back of my mind. Even when I was on the railroad, I was thinking about going to auction school and called some auctioneers that I knew, and just to see what it took to become an auctioneer. And so when I left the railroad, I bought a truck, and I was hauling frac sand down in the oil field. And I decided to go ahead and go to auctioneer school during that time. So I went up to Clear Lake, Iowa, to Worldwide College of Auctioneering. Got that done, came back to Lubbock and got my exam done, and got my license, and started working a little bit here and there. I worked at a car auction for a little while, and started helping five-star auctioneers. I'm still helping them. And then I decided, I went to a few state conventions and noticed that all these auctioneers were real estate agents. So while I was driving a truck to make a living, I was like, you know what? I'll get my real estate license, and then maybe I can slowly get into this full time. And so I did. I got my real estate license. I started with Keller Williams, and was there for a little over 2 years. And then I decided, I talked with Monty, like before I even got my real estate license, I was in contact with Monty, and it was something that I was always wanting to do, is get to Monty's brokerage, and I finally did it this last 5 months ago or something like that. But I enjoy it here. Just going to the United Country convention this last weekend. I mean, you don't go to another brokerage's convention and see that many cowboy hats. That's for sure.
Take pride in that one for sure. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Rusty, we're really excited. We felt like when you came in, you complimented what we were trying to do here. You know, we've always kind of fit in that pocket where we like to do a lot in the fringe areas of, say, the Lubbock and even some around the Amarillo markets. But you know, we have always said that we feel like we can do anything that any of the other real estate brokerages can do and do it well, and then we can do a lot of other things also. And when we teamed up with United Country, that just helped us be able to say that even a little bit better. I remember the first time when I was talking with Travis Wofford, who came and was the first guy that talked to me about joining up with United Country, that one of the big things that he said that you kind of touched on was he said it's like a big family. And the other thing that he said that really got my attention was that he said, you know, we market property different than the rest of the big real estate franchises and brokerages. And that got my attention because I felt like that's the way we've always been. You know, we do things different. We're not exactly like the out-of-the-box real estate brokerage. We're not going to ever probably have tons of agents because we're going to try to really have experts in what we do and try to really be more of a boutique type services type business, you know, meaning that we have that level of service if people need it, but also we're able to do the everyday basic real estate transactions. And I think do them really well because we touch all these different parts of the business. So really excited to have you on board. It was neat to watch Rusty at the convention because it is a place where you just have such a benefit of getting to go in and talk to other people that are in a similar, I say, swimming in a parallel lane with us. And they're in different parts of rural America. Some of them are in bigger parts of the country. I mean, we've got offices in bigger cities. But far and wide, I mean, we dominate in the farm and ranch and rural residents, meaning small towns less than, 200,000, and then, like I say, we've got a lot of our agents that'll do that. And then also just like us, we love listing houses in Lubbock, because the thing about towns like Lubbock and Amarillo is if you really get to dissecting them, they're made up of all these people that grew up in all these towns that we live in and we work in outside of Lubbock. And just like Rusty being up there from the New Deal, Abernathy area, we're here in Littlefield, Sudan, Muleshoe area. We're sitting here with folks that we deal with that grew up in this area. Some of them moved away. When we're doing land transactions, a lot of times, I was talking to a guy the other day. He was in another state, and he started talking to me about some land that he's wanting me to sell. And he said, man, I've talked to you about some guys I haven't thought about in 20 or 30 years. And, it's because we're from here. And that's one of the things that when United Country showed me their main business slogan, it was local expertise and national exposure. And boy, I just think that I don't know who came up with that and when they did, but man, that's just a great way to say it. So Carrie's one of those that I think, when we got with United Country was doing really well on her own and working through the brokerage with the tools we had. But I think she'd be able to tell you a little bit. How have you felt like the match with United Country has worked?
I think it's been really good. What I love is if you have questions, like if you get something new that we're not used to doing, there's always people that you can reach out to. When we've done auctions, if we have questions, and there's just a team, it seems like there's like a nationwide team that can help you on anything you got. We ran into a little issue the other day, didn't know how to do something just in our program that we use, and it was just as simple as just popping into this little box down here, and it was on my website, like I had something going on my website. And so, I just popped into the little box and boom, there was somebody sitting there waiting to help. I think it's neat to have just a network of people.
Yeah, I agree. And, when they have that convention, all those people, it's a really big load on the company kind of because they all go. I mean, and and they're still running the company while they're having convention. But most everybody comes, and they want them to come because they want you to know the people that are on the other side working with you. We were up here last night at 5:30 in the evening, and we were having a little IT issue, and actually ended up getting on the phone with one of the girls in the IT department. And I thought, that's not a normal thing that you can have that happen. We asked her to call us, and the phone rang in about 2 minutes. And so, to be a company that in 2022, just did just right under $10 billion in real estate sales nationwide, and has representation in 48 states, Canada, Costa Rica. I mean, we've got several international offices now. And then to also have the capabilities to market people's properties through 39 different specialty property groups and about 3,500 specially tailored websites that are exclusive only to United Country. And then to still have that down home genuineness that the company's just got running through its veins is just really cool. One of the things that was really neat too, and this kind of falls in line with stuff we like to talk about on Gun and Saddle, was how they always start the convention. And I was able to go to a prayer breakfast that we always have the morning before the convention starts. And this year it was really a cool thing. It's a voluntary part of the convention where people come, and we do it before they kick off the convention. So we meet pretty early, and everybody came in. And this year it was a cool format because we met, and we didn't really have a speaker. I've been there before when they'll have somebody for that'll kind of step up and give a talk, and then we'll do some stuff and have a breakfast. But this year we just went in there, and everybody was allowed to stand up and read one of their favorite Bible verses. And we literally did that for an hour. There was people still standing up reading. We got to the end, and I was just sitting there thinking how cool that was in the world that we live in today, that we're in a situation like that where people are exercising their right to stand up and express themselves in the way that they would like and talk about things that they believe in. And it's just really cool. And like I say, it fits right in the vein of what this little podcast is all about, because it's just about our culture and our history and our way of life. And so anyway, enough of getting all sentimental and gushy about all that stuff. But there was a few things that came up this year at the convention that were really, really good, big things that were announced. The first one that we heard was for those of you that don't know, but we've been in a partnership with Realty Outdoors for several years, and we're the exclusive hunting solution for all, for Realty, and we have Realty hunting properties, which we've been a part of, and we've listed and sold some properties underneath that marketing, and it's been something that's been really great. Also, along the same lines, prior to them having that relationship, United Country had started their own United Country hunting properties, what we call SPG, or Specialty Property Group. And that had been continuing to go on, and it was kind of run by a couple of guys up in the northern Midwest. And over the last few years, it's both of them have been really good. It's kind of been a deal where guys, it seems like we had more guys kind of in the South that were using the Realtree brand, and then more of the guys in the Midwest and up North that were kind of in the United Country. But then over the last couple of years, that's one thing I love about our company. All the guys in the company were like, we need to be pushing our brand with the United Country hunting properties, but we really love our partnership with Realtree. So a lot of the guys were doing them in both. We're pushing our hunting properties out both directions. And I think that's really cool because if you really think about it, most people just put your stuff on their website when they list. If you list with a normal brokerage, you're going one direction. It's the same way they go with all their other property. But with United Country, we had two special ways to do it. There was just something, but what kept coming up, and it was a great move, I think, is the guy said, look, that's great that we've got these two options, but it'd be better if we could join them. Because if we can join them together, we can combine those marketing efforts, and those dollars can be used more efficiently and better. So it's really a cool thing when you're at the convention. And if you're a hunter, you'll know who I'm fixing to mention. If you follow, hunting videos and have watched hunting videos your whole life or hunting shows, David Blanton was up on the stage when they made the announcement. He actually was representing Realtree up there on stage. And David's a guy I've watched for years hunt. And it was really cool to hear him help explain what was going on, because what we've basically done is we've merged United Country hunting properties with Realtree Outdoors. So it's now United Country hunting properties powered by Realtree. So still the exclusive arrangement with Realtree. We're their solution for hunting. We're putting our joint efforts together with marketing. So you get the power of that brand in hunting, the largest name in hunting, which is Realtree. You've got the largest name in farm and ranch and recreational real estate, which is United Country, all meshed together into one unified brand. So really a cool thing. And, it took a lot of selflessness, too, for those guys that have been working on both sides of that deal to do that, because they had invested a lot of time in what they'd been doing. And it just speaks to our company. Travis Homley being one of the main guys, and he was part of the ones that made the announcement because he kind of spearheaded United Country Hunting Properties back 12 years ago. And for a guy to sit down and be able to just work for something, I talked to him and he said, it's about what's good for the brokerages in our system. So that was really cool to see that. What's also really cool about it is you're going to see these changes as we move forward. But David Blanton said as he stood up there, and if you know anything about Realtree, it's founder Bill Jordan. He's the heart and soul of that company. He still calls the shots too, I think. And they said that, when they were talking, and I'm paraphrasing, but Bill said, whatever we're doing, we're going to stay with these guys because they're our guys and they're about family. And that's what we're about. So that was really cool to hear that on a national convention, on a national stage, and see not just talk around that, but see actions that they're taking to do that. So what it means for our clients, the very best, which is what we're after, the very best way to market their hunting and recreational properties without question. Team of guys that, like you talked about earlier, Carrie, that we've got that do these things and different kinds of trainings that we can get on different things. If they become more needed in our area, the hunting deal in our area is really becoming more relevant. We've got a lot of different ways. The mule deer hunting's been here for a while, but the upland game and the migratory birds, with the crane and the geese is starting to be a much bigger deal. So I would just tell you guys, if you got any questions about what we're doing with our hunting program, even if you're not ready to sell, come talk to us, because we've also got some management tools that we can help point you to, some different groups that can help you better manage your properties as far as what you're doing, getting them, increasing the value of them. That's one of the things I think that's real important is, the stewardship issues and the things that we come up on in our land stuff, in our land decisions that we make as landowners. Is this going to add value to my farm, or is this going to add value to my ranch? And we can help answer those questions for you. So reach out to us and let us talk to you about that. Do you guys, Rusty, you got any comments about all that? I know you were sitting there. How did that hit you when they made the announcement?
It's pretty powerful. As soon as they made that announcement and told everybody that had a white UC hunting shirt on to come up, and then all of a sudden, third of the room stood up because they were all part of that project, and it was just pretty neat. And just knowing that we got that manpower behind us, because when you list with us, you're not just listing with me or you or Carrie. We got all kinds of agents all over the country that we all help each other. Like you said, we're a family. So, I can call anybody in the UC family and ask them a question. Just like yesterday, I called Trey Garrett about that auction that I'm thinking about setting up there in Littlefield. And, it's just done it. It's endless, the amount of support we got.
We were walking out, actually, we're going to talk about one other little deal here, and it's related to this. But while we're on this point, we were walking out of those meetings the other day, and me and Rusty were going to grab something for lunch. And I told him, I said, the thing that's really unique about this, and I said, and I've tried this on, meaning that I've been down this road and I've seen firsthand. These guys are sitting in the rooms that are doing these sessions and telling you about things they're doing in their brokerages that are working well for their clients. And they're telling you that we'll help you learn how to do it in your office. And they're not lying. I said, you can take that guy out of that one session that we just walked out of, or that I just walked out of, I was telling Rusty about. I said, we can call him and he'll tell us how he did it. And he'll share everything with us, because we're in a partnership. We don't try to put too many people out there, and we don't try to put people on top of each other. So when so many of the brokerages, no offense to them, but are stacking in new agents every month, trying to just put way more people out there than what the market can support, we're going a different direction with it. We're trying to put people out there and make it where they can do better. And then if there is a need for an additional resource, just like Rusty coming on our team, where he's bringing value to the deal. I mean, that's why it works so well, because I want to see Rusty succeed. Carrie wants to see Rusty succeed. Rusty wants to see Carrie succeed. So it's really cool even when we have our team meetings and we get together, because that's that same idea of how we're going to work together. And the auction deal, I think, does bring a lot of that to the table for United Country, because I know it's not their entire MO. It's been a part of their deal longer than a lot of others. They started it almost a couple decades ago, I think. But being not only one of the largest farm and ranch, or the largest farm and ranch real estate, we're also the largest farm and ranch and equipment national brokerage as well, that works with real estate and auction to do those things together. So, it's just, we were sitting in a couple of those meetings talking about that, which I'm going to tee up our next little topic, how people are starting to look at selling houses differently. And it's a deal where we've sat in here for years. Carrie and I have sat in these rooms and talked about, I don't know if this is the only way to do this, the way that we sell houses here in Texas. I've seen examples, Oklahoma being one of them, where they're pretty open to some other ways of doing house sales. And, they do a lot of them differently than we do here. And we were able to set in a session that was really interesting. It was talking about really letting your client decide how they want to sell their home. And it might be that a lot of times we say we listen, but maybe we're not really listening completely, because we're trying to fit that client into this box that is, this is how you sell your home in Texas. And so it was really eye-opening to listen to these guys. We listened to some guys that were closer to the East Coast, out in some rural areas, and listening to them talk about a new exciting program they've got called Jumpstart, where they're doing some things that are giving the sellers the ability to have more control of the way that the sales process goes. It gives them a better timeline determination. It tells them more, you can get it done in a set amount of time. It also helps them set the terms of how they sell their property. Because so many times I've been in situations where I've got people that say, this is how I want to do it. And I say, well, I'm not sure we can do it that way. And we've got legal things that we have to do that are correct. But a lot of these things that I'm telling them, it's not really legal issues. It's just the way it is. It's just the way that people are doing it. And so it was really exciting to hear these guys talk about how they've implemented something over the last 4 years that has really become the major and main way that they're selling property now, and it's different. And they're having people now come to them and ask to have them help them because they do it that way instead of doing it the other way. So we're planning on really looking into implementing a lot of that in that new exciting Jumpstart program. Carrie, I think, is excited about it. I mean, one of the key things that I told Rusty that came out of the session I was in with these guys was listen to your client. Right. Listen to your client. And that means that it may not be the right way to sell a house for certain people. The way we do it in the state of Texas is one of the most thriving real estate markets in the nation. It's kind of hard to think about doing it a different way. But there's more than one way to do things sometimes. And we are definitely at a point in time, I believe, in real estate where there could be some situations happening outside of our control that might be making it where there could be some better ways to do things than the way we've been doing them under these new circumstances. So anyway, Rusty, you're pretty excited about what we saw there on that and what's coming forward. I know we talked about a lot. And you got anything else to add about that?
Not a whole lot. I do think it's a pretty exciting deal. I'm anxious to test it in our market and see how it works. I just, a lot of times you get multiple offers in and you're trying to figure out, and I know we talked about this, your terms and conditions of the contract and what's the actual best offer. And sometimes it's kind of gray and you don't really know what to pick, but the way this is set up, those terms and conditions are set and you're putting offers on the property and those terms and conditions. So that takes the grayness out of that contract and kind of makes it more straightforward. So it's kind of exciting. It's a little easier to pick for the seller for sure. Yeah. And so I'm anxious to see how it works for sure.
And I think a point to that too. Who's going to be the first movers in something like that? It makes sense it'd be United Country because we've said from the beginning we're a listing company. I mean, we love helping buyers find property, but I'll tell you every day, all day long, what's our goal? Our goal is to help people meet their needs by getting properties out there to sell. Because if we can list property, then we're going to be relevant in the industry and we're going to be able to do something that we set out to do. Having said all that, I mean, obviously we help lots of buyers every year and we represent lots of buyers. But this is something that I think is going to be driven by how you start the transaction and what fits. And that's something that I think is really neat, because one of the things I heard also is, even though it starts out from that perspective, the way it's ending up is that buyers are really liking it too. So that's kind of an exciting thing, to think that you could drive it from one direction and it actually work out well for both sides of the transaction. And in light of a lot of things that are going on in the industry, I think we're at a point in time where that might be necessary. So anyway, I know this was a really real estate centric episode, and we're going to kind of keep this one short this week. We've got some really exciting things coming up. I can tell you that we're still planning on, because we kind of postponed that earlier because there was one of the guys that was going to be in our panel that got injured. But we're going to still come back and do our episode over the new release of the 5 Strands publication, which is done by the Texas Agricultural Extension Office. It's a deal on fence law. Talked to some guys about this, ranchers and stuff, and man, they're really excited about this. I think the guys that we're going to have on it are going to be interested in it, because, one of them in fact told me, he said, I've actually got into a situation where I got crossways with a neighbor over a fence, and he thought he was doing it right. And turns out he found out that he wasn't. So, I think a lot of times it's just about being informed. And that's one of the things that we want to bring to you when we're doing these podcasts, is information to make informed decisions. Because we can tell you, working on the other side of the table, that it's always easier to work with somebody that has information. So another one that's coming up that I think is going to be really interesting over the next few months is we're going to be talking more about property owner rights and how we as Americans need to be thinking about this, while we still have a lot of liberty and privilege on the decisions that we make, and how that impacts the future on some of the challenges that we're facing with some of the stuff like ESG policy that's coming down the supply chain in all forms of agriculture, both on beef and in production ag, along with dairy. So I've got some people lined up to come in, and I think what's going to be cool about it is we're going to get people a different perspective to take, and then let them decide how they view this. But we had at the convention, we had her on the podcast a few months ago, but we were able to meet in person Margaret and Dan Byfeld, who are with American Stewards of Liberty. And we had a sitting there with another broker, auctioneer, had a pretty good discussion with them talking about conservation easements. And I saw some things in actual real life that Margaret was talking about on our podcast that were already coming to play in fruition. And it was validating. It was able to make me understand, she's right about some of the stuff that she's saying. So I just think, for the most part, what I've talked to some guys around here about is, you're busy. You're working. You don't really know that you got time to really get in a rabbit hole worrying about a lot of this stuff. But that's why I think these podcasts are cool, and these video podcasts, because you can throw it on your Bluetooth on your tractor or your pickup and keep working and just listen to what they got to say. And so that's how we hope we can help with that. I'm excited about that. And as always, we're looking for these human interest stories. We're looking for these things. If you know something and you're listening out there and you say, man, I'd like for more people to know about something somebody's doing in one of these communities, or an organization that's doing something to make this place better, man, we'll always want to feature those guys on here. So also something we're going to try to do moving into the summer, we're into the really, what I would say, time, if you're going to list a house, it's time to be thinking about it. Our markets are getting back to more of a traditional cycle, I think. And so, if you're thinking about selling a home and you're wanting to do it in 2024, you needed to have been talking to us last week. So go ahead and get in touch with Carrie or Rusty or myself if you've got a property, whether it be a home or farm and ranch property. If you're thinking about selling land, I know a lot of guys think about selling in the fall, but right now is when you need to be getting in touch with us, because we need to be getting things lined up. If you've got tenants, if you've got issues you got to deal with rent, CRP contracts, they're all the fiscal year at the USDA restarts October 1. So right now's the time, because time goes fast when you start talking about doing something. In a couple of months will click off the calendar just like that. So that's going to be something we're going to focus on a lot here too, is just trying to help people that need information about getting ready to sell. What's my property worth? You may be getting letters in the mail. This is something that's been going on a lot here lately, where people are getting letters in the mail, people making cash offers through the mail to buy land. That's not something we've seen a lot of. We've seen people call and say, or send letters and say, I want to buy your land. Or we've had people send letters and say, I have a buyer for your land. But we're seeing people now that are getting a lot of these letters in mass, where people are just making offers and wanting to sign a piece of paper and send it back. And I would always just say, from being a professional in this industry, don't get in a hurry on something like that. And we're here. Call us. You may not want to list. You may not want to sell. But call us and let's look into what's going on here. Maybe it's a good time for you to just kind of get a reset and understand what your place is worth. So just give us a call on that. And that's stuff by being out here and being relevant. We hope we can stay in front of you guys and be fresh on your mind. So either one of you guys got anything to say before we kind of wrap this up?
I have been studying those conservation easements and stuff, and I can't really talk on them because it's a lot to take in, but I'm looking forward to those guys, those industry leaders, to come out and talk about that for sure.
And there's no doubt before the end of the year, we're planning on also getting Margaret back out here for sure, to let her talk to us a little bit more about what's going on. They won a big battle after they were on our podcast because they were able to defeat the natural asset companies that were trying to get put in to where people could trade those on the stock market. That was a huge victory. But like Margaret said, it was a victory in a battle. The war's not over. So these guys have spent a lot of time and money setting all this up, that are trying to do this the way they want to do it. And so we've got to be vigilant to stay informed and understand that there's a lot of people in the middle of all this that are getting kind of used as pawns. And, sometimes just understanding what's going on and being able to share that with other people can really, really help a lot. So glad you brought that up. Well, listen, we were glad y'all joined us today. I hope this episode was informative. We're really excited about what we're bringing to the table here with some of these new things that we talked to you about. If you've got a hunting property, I can tell you with this new merger and these things that are going on with this in our company, there's just nobody else to really talk to right now. Give us a call. Also, if there's any other questions you've got that involve anything around your real estate, just reach out to any one of us or any of the other guys on our team, and we'll be glad to help you. We'll see you next week on another episode of Gun and Saddle.
Thanks for watching Gun and Saddle, a United Country M. Edwards Realty and Auction weekly podcast. Have an idea for a future episode, comments, or suggestions? Email us at comments@gunandsaddle.com. Remember to subscribe or follow us today. Join us again next week for a deeper look at the land we all love and the people that call it home. This is Gun and Saddle.